Okay, if I get everybody's attention, thank you very much for your patience. We have some gentlemen here from Dunlop Tire that would like to address the assembled media and also take some questions. In the middle is joining us is Mike Buckley, the Vice President of the Motorcycle Division for Dunlop Tire. On Mike's right is Sebastian Minicona, the Senior Road Racing Manager for Dunlop Tire. And on the left is Mick Jackson, who is the Design Manager for the United States of America Dunlop Tire in the Motorcycle Tire Division. Mike, if you could, proceed.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, you know, I could go back to the beginning here, but I think it's pretty well documented. We had a repaving of the surface here at Daytona, and we had a series of tests that took place preceding today's event, or this week's event, beginning in December. And December was, we did get on track a little bit earlier than we had originally expected. Speedway did a good job of getting us some time. We got on the short course in December and did some work. And then, as you're all aware, we were part of the bigger AMA test in January. And really that test is where we saw some issues as we got onto the long course with the Daytona Sport Bike class, rear tires, some overheating, and so we knew we needed to address that, which we did. We went to a complete redesign for that product and turned that around very quickly, brought it to another test that we had in February. And that was more of a closed test. We brought our own test team, and we did that because we were fairly confident. We were extremely confident that we could get the results we needed there. And a secondary issue there was we really wanted to. We worked with the AMA Pro Racing, and we wanted to preserve the rule book, and not. We weren't going to be able to bring enough tires to bring the field back for a test. So we knew it would be limited, and rather than give a select team or teams the opportunity to test, we felt confident we could replicate the concern that we had from the last test with our test team, which we did. And then we moved to a countermeasure spec, which was good. And so we knew we were ready to go for the race. I will say that up until today in the 200, we had a very, very clean weekend with respect to tire performance. We certainly did not see any of the overheating that we saw on the front tires in the 200 today prior to that race, and that includes obviously the two Supersport races using the exact same tire, albeit on different equipment. The major difference that we had today obviously was the ambient temperature and a track temperature that I believe was in the 48 degree range.
Yes.
As opposed to a high of 35 that we saw yesterday. So that change alone is probably the main contributor to what we saw happen. So as we all witnessed on lap 15, I believe it was Jake Holden pitted with a front tire concern, and he certainly had an overheated front tire. At that point, the team got together and communicated on that issue. And as we rolled into more routine pit stops in the 18-19 lap time frame, we saw some more overheating in the Yamahas. And at that point, we got together as a team and took a decision and reached out to the AMA that we wanted to stop the race. And the primary driver for that, obviously, is safety. But a big concern that we had was we had a lot of knowledge about some of the competitors' race plans with respect to front tires, and there was a substantial amount of the field that was going to run one front tire for the entire race. That was probably the single largest driver to the decision we got to. We had no choice at that point but to ask the AMA to stop the race and pull that specification from competition and move to a countermeasure backup specification that we had in the garage. and that was not a tire that was on the original specification sheet. We were very simple and very clean with our specifications for the Daytona Sport Bike class, as well as Super Sport this year. We had one front and one rear. And this was a countermeasure backup tire that we brought that had a little more durability in it, that if we ran into a problem. But again, it's very important to note, up until that point of the weekend, we had zero issues that led us to think we were going to have the occurrence that we had today in the Daytona 200. And that's kind of the opening statement. Obviously, I've got the technical team here and my road race management here, and if we have any questions or any concerns.
Sure. Anybody with a question? David Swartz over here.
Mike or Sebastian, would you describe maybe a little bit more what was different on the countermeasure tire and why it wasn't originally put on the allocation sheet, other than you saying you wanted to keep allocation, the choice is simple?
Okay, the main difference was that the compound is different to what we used for the last 2 years, and it's mainly is related on the polymer of the tire, of the compound. It's a different kind of compound, and we had the tires. We tested the tires already before, and when we did the tests, the last 2 tests we did, a lot of the teams, they chose the spec that they raced on today and for the last 2 years. Also, lots of teams, they asked us to keep it as simple as possible. So, and the fact to have one front, one rear was well accepted from different teams and different riders for the last 2 years, including this year.
Another question? Godwin Kelly in the back here. Daytona News Beach Journal.
Mike, is this a standard procedure as far as bringing like a different sort of tire to a race, or because this is Daytona, you did that just as a backup?
I'll let Sebastian answer that one.
Yes, we always have something available in the truck, that if just in case, you know, safety is always the first thing that we think about. So we always have something different inside the truck that if it's required, we can use.
Okay, we good. Henny Ray, just wait for a microphone. It's coming.
Yeah, is it in Formula One they can monitor things like pressure, which can have an effect on tire life? Is there any way for you guys to know whether that was a contributing factor?
With the temperature, with the track temperature being so high, all the data that we had, we couldn't use them. I mean, the biggest problem was that the track temperature was so high. That's why we started having this problem.
And secondly, is there any way, you have no power as far as saying it's not a good idea to run one tire for 57 laps? Is that a discussion you ever had with the AMA, that maybe this needs to be, you need to change? Maybe you could answer that, Mike?
No, Henny, that wasn't a discussion before the race. As we all know, the faster you go, the more heat you're going to generate, and you're going to see more issues at a guy that's running a low 50 than you're going to see probably in a guy that's running a 54 or a 55. But we've, I believe, and maybe Sebastian would know for sure, but I think we've had experience with individuals running one front tire for the 200 in the past.
Yes.
Again, that was, and prior races were also run in the evening as well. So that's a contributor to track temperature and ambient temperature as well. So, number one, heat is the tire's worst enemy. And we got a big jump in heat today. And that's what led to the problem. Your original question on air pressure, when we come to Daytona, we're on a bank circuit. Safety is obviously the #1 concern. So having a tire that we were that confident in, and we could say one front, one rear, was a very good position coming in for the race. Okay, along with that comes a set of instructions in terms of air pressure. So that's key, and air pressures here that we would run at this circuit as opposed to a more traditional circuit without a banked. The banked aspect that we have here would be different. So we're very strong about air pressure recommendations here and the effect that will have on tire performance.
2 questions. One, do you feel that Danny Eslick's unusual crash on NASCAR 4 was a factor of a tire condition? And then 2, got feedback from riders indicated there was some confusion over tire mounting during the red flag and before the restart, and some riders got improper tires mounted, and some tires got mounted into the riders very late.
Okay, the answer to the Danny Eslick's crash, I mean, we don't know that yet, but I don't think it's a tire-related crash. And for the communication of changing the front spec, the first thing we did, we had a meeting with AMA, and all of us, myself, my team, and the technical team, we made the decision, and after we communicate that to the team. So that's why sometimes I think what happened is not everybody ended up getting the message straight away. So that's why we had some there was some confusion in the pit lane, but we checked every tire and everybody was on the same tire.
Yeah, but if I can just comment on Danny Eslick's, we looked at that tire extremely closely. We checked every square inch, and there's nothing we can find at the racetrack that suggests any problem with the tire at all. Now that tire will go back for further analysis into Buffalo, New York, but there's nothing there at all that suggests it's anything other than it should be. And the miscommunication, obviously, we got with the AMA, and at that point, the race was stopped. And our position was that the front tyre from that first stint was not going to go back on the track again. So, and with all the activity that was going on, there was clearly some miscommunication or not sufficient communication. But in the end, all the riders did get the correct the front tyre, as far as I'm aware.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I think the misunderstanding was that when the race was red flag, it was indicated that it was a mandatory front tire change. What it meant was that we were going to change that tire at Dunlop and remount a different compound. But when you indicate that it's a mandatory front tire change, I think a lot of people jump to the conclusion that they would just be coming in and doing a front tire change per se, as they would in a pit stop, versus doing a complete compound change.
Correct, mounting one of their
we did
backup
indicate.
tires, exactly,
Yes.
off the warmer tree or whatever. So
I think that's where the difference was in the information and the communication.
Yes.
Okay, we good? We all right, everybody? Oh, right over here.
I don't understand exactly what's being stated as the problem, but I could be wrong in what I'm thinking. It seems that there's been Daytona 200s with the track at this temperature, or maybe higher before, and it seems that there's been motorcycles at these speeds, if not faster, before. And so I'm still unclear what is the difference this year that made this a problem.
Okay, different motorcycle, different tires, different construction, because we always need to try to find the right balance for the bankings and for the infield, you know. So when you build a tire for a super bike, it's totally different to when you build a tire for a super sport bike. The biggest difference has been the new surface for us and the high temperature. If you look at the color of the tarmac, the asphalt, is much darker to what we had in the past. So it attracts more heat. So that's why we have the track gets higher, hotter, so quick.
Another part that we saw with the new surface, which was honestly a bit of a surprise to us, the surface is smooth as glass. So we don't see a lot of wear in the tires, and I think anybody that watched the 500 this year, that was seen as well. There wasn't as many tire changes. The surface, they did an excellent job. Normally, and we've seen it before at Barber, we saw it at Miller, a lot of abrasion when we're on new surfaces. We haven't seen that here. And I'm not the technical guy, but I know this, that if the tire at Daytona, when it's building heat, is not wearing, okay, and losing some gauge, it's kind of like a door being closed, and it doesn't allow heat to get out as well. So that's part of the issue as well. The tires were not wearing very much at all this year. Is that a fair statement, guys?
Yeah, we knew that going in. Yeah.
Yeah.
One more here with David.
And have you guys, I know it's early, but have you guys started formulating your plans to prepare for next year's Daytona? Because, I mean, it'll be a different situation. The surface will, the track will be available for more testing. Do you intend to do more testing, more preparation for next year's race?
Yeah, and it's obviously it's critical that we test. I mean, we need to get with the circuits, but we're going to be ahead in the summer testing.
It's more or less a return to what we've done in the past with Daytona, where we book an August or a July date, where we get in the pressure cooker, the hottest conditions, something that is far more extreme than we're ever going to get in a March. So that's been our plan all along, to come and get in the worst conditions and get on top of this thing.
Why was the race shortened by 15 laps?
That's probably a better question for the AMA.
Okay, I think we're good. Well, gentlemen, we appreciate your coming up here and spending time with the media and answering these questions, and we appreciate your support. And Dunlop's key to the success of AMA Pro Racing, and we thank you very much. So,
Thanks.
Excellent.